Chapter 1156, Gradual Realization. Yuji was a smart woman that even a terrifying character such as the Joyous Palace Master once regarded her as a think tank. It was also thanks to her wisdom that the latter also feared her and thus sent her out to deal with the issues on the front lines. Prior to this, it was Tang Xiu's strength that made her apprehensive, yet she didn't choose to betray the Joyous Palace Master even though she faced the threat of death. She did agree to submit to Tang Xiu orally but was very resistant to the idea inwardly. Even after getting the treatment, she had already planned to challenge Tang Xiu to probe his strength further, while at the same time, prepping her escape at any time. At this moment, however, her heart went cold as only now did she realize that this young Chinese cultivator not only had cultivated his strength to the extreme, but also had frightening wisdom. He seemed to be able to see through her intentions and arranged the array while she was recuperating. What should I do? Do I really have to submit to him? But how should I deal with the restriction seal cast on me, then? I may be able to suppress it temporarily if I do choose to escape. But the seal will definitely affect me after some time. I'm gonna lose my mind by then and nothing I can do but die at that time. Tang Xiu, still sitting cross-legged on the big blue stone, calmly observed Yuji's grim and ugly expression. Afterward, he slowly asked during her silence, "Do you know why haven't I pressed you for an answer about the situation in your joyous palace before?" With a thoughtful look, Yuji answered, "You thought that I can't escape? That's only one of many reasons." Tang Xiu shook his head. "But not the main one." "So what's the reason, then?" asked Yuji with a frown. "When I freed you from my sealing technique, I also cast another one on you. It's just that you didn't notice it. Of course, I also noticed the other restriction that has been cast on you previously. My guess is that restriction must be cast by the Joyous Palace Master on you, so as to prevent you from betraying them." "You can detect it?" exclaimed Yuji in surprise. "If I proclaim myself to be the first in magical and secret arts, I dare say nobody dares to aim for the second in this world. Such a minor seal cast by some Buddhist cultivator at the spirit formation stage is nothing but a joke to me. Removing it is very easy to be done." Tang Xiu sneered. Only now did Yuji's expression drastically changed. She stared at Tang Xiu and said, "I'll sell you this life of mine if you really can remove this seal cast by the Joyous Palace Master." "Don't say it like your life is valuable to me." Tang Xiu shook his head. "Just your current level of cultivation, many of the men under me will reach this level a few years. The sole reason I haven't killed you and even wasted medicinal pills is chiefly for the intention to make you help Kawako to handle her affairs in Japan. Do you really think I've fallen for you otherwise, huh?" Yuji fell into silence. She knew almost nothing about Tang Xiu. Naturally, she had no idea whether Tang Xiu was saying the truth. But one thing was certain. This Chinese cultivator in front of her was the most dreadful person she'd ever met. Even the Joyous Palace Master was likely under him. "So, who is this Master of Joyous Palace, then?" asked Tang Xiu in a deep voice. Yuji herself actually didn't want to answer the questioning as she hadn't yet gotten Tang Xiu's promise. But after recalling how terrifying this man was, and the fact she couldn't escape, she finally decided to gamble. She replied in a deep voice, "I'm not particularly clear about his identity either. I only know that he came to Japan about a century ago, and then established the Joyous Palace from scratch on his own. Rumors have it that he appeared as a monk in public when he first came to Japan then." Suddenly, she seemed to recall something else and added more, "That's right, there's another thing. He should be from China since he spoke Chinese when he just came here. After living here for some time, only then did he gradually learn Japanese. My guess is, he should be from the Joyous sect. I once heard from a friend in the cultivation world that the Buddhist Tantric school has a splinter group called Joyous sect or something. Unfortunately, the principal and essential teaching of this sect is like day and night with the Buddhist sects and thus, the rest of the Buddhist sects can no longer tolerate and accommodate it, resulting in the incident where all the members of Joyous sect were either killed or discarded. It's very likely that your Joyous Palace Master is the surviving member of that Joyous sect. As he spoke up to there, he took out a mobile phone and dialed Miao Wentong's number. After the latter picked up his call, he spoke, "I need your help, brother Miao." "On what issue?" replied Miao Wentong. "Just tell me and I'll do it as long as it's within my ability. We had a chat before and you mentioned some issues pertaining to the Buddhist sects," said Tang Xiu. "I want you to make a trip to the Buddhist sect in person and tell them about some issues." "And, what issue is it, exactly?" asked Miao Wentong. "Some surviving members of Joyous sect are in Japan and one of them is very powerful," explained Tang Xiu. "His cultivation level is on par with cultivators at the spirit formation stage and perhaps even stronger. The most important thing is, he also has terrifying influence and power here, which is said to be the biggest and most mysterious force in Japan." "The Joyous sect?" Miao Wentong exclaimed in surprise. "This sect was like a bunch of ravishers in the past and ruined many women's chastities. I never thought some members of this sect were still alive. It's really out of my imagination. Brother Tang, the Buddhist school have long spread out the news that they would kill any remnants of Joyous sect whenever they meet them. All right, I'll hurry up to the Buddhist sect right away to inform its current head, Grand Abbot Bright Crane." "Thanks a bunch," replied Tang Xiu. After hanging up, he looked at Yuji again and faintly said, "You still have two choices ahead of you, and it's also your last chance. Surrender and assist Kawako in Japan, or refuse and die here and now." "Do I even have any other choice?" replied Yuji bitterly. "You already know you have none, so just submit," replied Tang Xiu indifferently. "I'll submit and give you my life as long as you can solve the seal cast on my body." Yuji nodded. "You're willing to hand over your life to me, so I'll take it and put another seal on you while removing that seal on your body," said Tang Xiu. Yuji looked indignant. "I also got the seal cast on me by sect master." Kawako sneered. "Do you think you have more face than me or something? Let me tell you, it's already a huge benevolence from sect master to keep you alive." Again, Yuji fell silent. Tang Xiu then spoke indifferently, "As long as you choose to submit to me, you can expect to have continuous progress in the future and even be able to surpass the Joyous Palace Master later. I may have no other things, but I have lots of elixir and miraculous medicines. Make contributions and you can get more of those things. The more contributions you make, the more you can get and the better your cultivation will become." Elixir and miraculous pills? Yuji recalled the holy healing pill Tang Xiu gave her. Its efficacy was truly remarkable as new flesh had started to regrow in her seriously stabbed wounds, while the seriously injured internal organs had been similarly healed. Additionally, that medicinal bath she had, it was like tempering and quenching her physique, which now made it at least 10% stronger than before. "I submit." Yuji kowtowed. Tang Xiu nodded. After checking out and deactivating the seal cast on Yuji's body, he faintly said, "I can't remove the seal the Joyous Palace Master has cast on you right now. He will notice once I do that. But no worries about it, though. I'll naturally help you out once he's dead. But if he dies, I can't live either," cut Yuji hurriedly. "I already know the mantra he has cast on you. It is very vicious as your life depends on his. He dies and you'll be dead, he lives and so do you. He can also control your life and death easily," said Tang Xiu lightly. "But you can rest assured on that issue, though. I have a way to preserve your life." Yuji was secretly relieved after hearing this. Then, she respectfully said, "Tang, what should I address you, though?" "Just call me boss," replied Tang Xiu lightly. "Roger that, boss." Yuji nodded. "Anyway, tell me the general picture of the Joyful Palace," said Tang Xiu. "How many people it has and how huge its influence and power in Japan are, exactly. What I know is just a scant picture of it." None in the Joyous Palace aside from Miyagi really knows the complete situation there, answered Yuji. But I do know some general structure inside. The Joyous Palace has 4 elders who are Miyagi's trusted confidants, and they also came with him to Japan. Below the 4 elders are 36 celestial mistresses, which I happen to be one, and 72 chess pieces below them. Among those 72, I only know Osashi Kitajishi and another one, but I know not about the rest of them. And, who's this other chess piece, then, asked Tang Shou. It's Daikura Sakuragi, the head of the Inada Society, answered Yuji. Inada Society? Tang Shou turned to Kawako. Kawako respectfully explained, the Inada Society is a very famous dojo in Japan, sect master. I never thought it's Dojocho, Daikura Sakuragi, turns out to be someone from Joyous Palace, though. I once sparred with him. He does have remarkable strength. However, he also loves money and is a womanizer. Tang Shou nodded in response and said, Kawako, this Joyous Palace master has noticed you, so you're to stay low for now. Also, order all your subordinates who are not exposed to continue doing their routines. It's fine if you want to leave Japan for some time too. Kawako hesitated and said, my people will be fine as long as Yuji doesn't move there though. I'm boss's underling now, so I naturally can't betray you or you men. Yuji hastily interjected. Tang Shou calmly said, Yuji, I want you to do something. Chapter 1157, Big Business. The Inada Society was a well-known dojo in Japan and had more than 100 branches, with each dojo being helmed by one of Daikura Sakuragi's disciples. Amakawa District. The main dojo of Inada Society was located here and covered an area of several tens of acres. Aside from one building, it was transformed into a wide training ground. There were only a few disciples in the main hall, but most of them were elites. In the interior, to the north of the small bridge and a stream was a rockery, while north to the rockery was a 2-story Japanese-style pavilion. Daikura Sakuragi was sitting by the window of the second floor while drinking sake and enjoying massages from 2 beautiful masseuses, whereas the big cigar in his hand kept producing smoke curled upward. Tap, tap, tap. The sound of walking steps came from the staircase as a big and stout man with a katana hanging on his waist appeared in front of Daikura, reporting. Dojocho, we have a big client visiting. Daikura Sakuragi didn't bother to even lift his eyelids and asked without being salty, what big client? He said he's from Singapore and knows that there are many underground forces in Japan. That's why he's kind of worried about his safety and is here to hire some bodyguards from us, explained the burly man. Also, he said that money is not a problem as long as we guarantee his safety. Money isn't a problem, huh? Sakuragi finally looked up and slowly asked lightly, how many muscles does he want, exactly? 100 men, said the burly man. Come again. Daikura's expression changed and looked incredulous. The main hall's business was indeed not to teach students martial arts, but rather a training department that provided bodyguards for hire to others. This place may look like a dojo, but it was better to call it a bodyguard company. 100 people? He founded the Inada Society more than 40 years ago, but it was his first time hearing someone wanting to hire 100 bodyguards at once. It must be noted that the bodyguards for hire in this place were very expensive, yet this person wanted to hire 100 of them? Can this big boss afford it? Who's this person? He only mentioned that his surname is Tang, a scion of a wealthy businessman from Singapore. The burly man shook his head. His visit to Japan this time is to play around while also wanting to appreciate the customs here. On the other hand, he also wants to find a Japanese gambler to have some great games with him again. Find a gambler? Sakuragi Daikura frowned and asked, did he mention anything about who this gambler friend of his is? He didn't mention it but said that he must have an unusual identity. The burly man shook his head again. Daikura was silent for half a minute. Then, he dropped the cigar into the ashtray and got up. He flicked to the two bells to grab his coat on the hanger and then said, "Anyone who can hire 100 bodyguards is sure not your everyday layman. Take me to see him." A few minutes after, Daikura then saw Tang Xiu, who sat in the VIP room with a leg atop the other. His gaze swept over to the two males and two females around him first as he immediately squinted his eyes and greeted with a smiling face. "You're the one called Mr. Tang, right? Welcome to Japan." Tang Xiu turned towards Kawako, who had changed her appearance, and asked in English, "What did he just say?" Kawako explained the sentence and finally said, "He's the dojocho or dojo head of the Inada Society, Daikura Sakuraji." Tang Xiu immediately understood and got up, saying, "It's a pleasure to meet you, Mr. Sakuraji. Anyway, you should understand me speaking in English, right? Forgive me about it as my family has long moved to Singapore many years ago, hence the reason I only speak the language in my country, English and Mandarin." Daikura Sakuraji also knew that most Singaporeans were of Chinese descent, so it was not unexpected for him to hear Tang Xiu speak about it. He then nodded and replied in fluent English, "Well, English is an international language, so I naturally can speak in it a bit, Mr. Tang. Anyhow, you're a big client here, so feel free to mention any of your requests." "Well, your man must have told you that I need 100 bodyguards, right?" Tang Xiu smiled and said, "Also, it's my first time coming to your great place, so I don't know much about it. Another thing is, I lost contact with my gambler buddy, so please help me find him. Providing 100 bodyguards won't be a problem. I'll even give you a discount." Daikura smilingly replied, "May I know for how long you are hiring them, Mr. Tang? Also, I can help find your gambling companion as long as he lives in the capital." Tang Xiu thought about it and extended a finger. "A month." "And, what's the name of your gambling companion?" asked Daikura. "Nishi Masayoshi. Quite a public figure in the capital, I think." Tang Xiu smilingly said, "He said he'd invite me to Japan's capital and be his guest. I just couldn't come before, kind of restricted by my schedule." "Nishi Masayoshi?" An odd expression was evident on Daikura's face. He knew who this person was. A famous gambler who frequented all the casinos in the whole of Japan and was well known for his great gambling skills. Further, he also knew another fact about him. The man also had a travel company. He heard the company was quite big, but the man himself was too lazy to manage the business and just gave it to his subordinates to handle. "Mr. Tang, I think I can find this Nishi Masayoshi you just mentioned," said Daikura smilingly. "If you're not in a hurry, how about I send someone to find him now?" Tang Xiu deliberately looked surprised. Then, he nodded and said, "That would be great, then." "That's right. Do you know a good casino? I can't wait to have some good games with him again. There's the famous floating yacht, about a dozen kilometers from here. It's well known in the whole capital and its owner is a friend of mine too," Daikura Sakuraji smilingly replied. "All right, then I'll trouble you to guide me there, Dojocho Sakuraji." Tang Xiu smilingly nodded. "That's nothing, really," said Daikura smilingly. "Also, I'll send someone to quickly arrange 100 bodyguards for you." "How are you going to arrange them, though? Do you want to take them at once? Or assign them?" Tang Xiu waved and intentionally displayed a silk pants style and said aloud, "Of course I'm taking all of them at once. I heard rumors that Japan is not very safe and many thugs are roaming around. These men can pack them up if I happen to run into them. Besides, won't it look imposing and stylish if I bring a group of them around, Dojocho Sakuraji?" Imposing and stylish? Daikura Sakuraji was left speechless secretly. He could tell at a glance that the 4 bodyguards guarding this guy had extraordinary skills, and he'd be very safe with them around protecting him. This fella is hiring so many bodyguards at once just to look stylish and imposing? He wants to play as a powerful and influential man, doesn't he? Like the rest of those junior silk pants of the haves, he's so king arrogant. Naturally, he couldn't just blurt these words out either. In any case, his place provided bodyguards for hire to make money. Being able to make a fortune like now, he didn't want to bother himself with what kind of shits this guy wanted to do. Quickly after, a handsome sum of money was sent to Daikura's account. As for the equipment and cars, everything was arranged by Daikura. Certainly, the expense was on Tang Xiu's tab. However, Tang Xiu himself had his own reason and purpose and naturally didn't mind it. Half an hour later, when the motorcade drove out of the Inada Society, Daikura Sakuraji received the news that Nishi Masayoshi, the fella Tang Xiu was looking for, was now having a game with some other people at this time at the floating yacht, so he directly told Tang Xiu about the news. Truly a gambling companion this young Master Tang admires. I just came shortly in Japan, yet he has been roaming around to make a killing already. Go go go, hurry there. My hands are itching. I can't wait to have 300 rounds of games with him. Tang Xiu mindlessly slapped Daikura's thigh sitting next to him. Gasp. Despite being one of the chess pieces and a Buddhist cultivator of the Joyous Palace, Tang Xiu's slap still pained Daikura Sakuraji. It was hard for Daikura to believe that the guy next to him who looked so pale and smelled like one who had spent his time excessively on wine and women turned out to have so much strength. Could he be a cultivator too? The possibility crossed his mind and he immediately probed. Mr. Tang, you're still young but you have quite a strength yourself. Have you been practicing martial arts, by chance? Me? Martial arts? Tang Xiu looked up and then spoke with contempt, what a joke. How can I be like those weak people? My family is a very powerful clan in Singapore and I myself have been cult. Cough, cough. The one sitting in the front seat, Kawako, intentionally coughed several times and interrupted Tang Xiu. Tang Xiu acted like he was stunned and immediately seemed to recall something. Then, he quickly shifted the topic and yawned hastily. Oh, well. Anyway, you know that having strength is quite great, right? Well, I know I can beat up some big brown bear myself without it knowing what hit it. Cult, it must be cultivation? He's a cultivator? As expected, he's one of our kind. Daikura Saguraji's eyes flickered. Although Tang Xiu was interrupted, he could easily guess the rest. However, he felt that even if this guy sitting next to him was also a cultivator, it was likely that he wasn't that strong that even he himself would easily knock him out completely with a slap. He's nothing but a silk pants, nothing coming from him poses a threat. Daikura originally wanted to send someone to investigate this guy. But now it looked like he didn't need to do so at all. He could just use his own means and milk him dry. I can join his gambling games with Nishi Masayoshi. I'm sure I'll win a lot from them easily given my ability. I can get at least 8 or even 9 figures from them later. Daikura suddenly looked forward to it after the thought crossed his mind. Before the entrance of the floating yacht, 4 middle-aged men in black suits and sunglasses were standing straight with hands on their backs, while coldly watching the pedestrians in the surroundings. They didn't even glance at the passers-by. However, when tens of cars drove slowly from the distance and stopped before the entrance, the 4 stalwart men exchanged glances and each wore a shocked look. Who could this big shot be? Coming here with such a big posse? Even the most powerful godfather in Yamaguchi Prefecture wouldn't make such commotion, right? Chapter 1158, Those Who Have Money Are Kings. Strength was something Daikura always revered and advocated, but he also worshipped money like his life. He kept his humble attitude while accompanying Tang Xiu, the golden Buddha who had knocked on his door. After coming out of the car himself, he opened the car's door for Tang Xiu and watched the latter fix his lower collar with a smile on his handsome face. Then, he shouted to 4 security guards of floating yacht loudly, "Notify your manager Takeda. Tell him he got a distinguished guest is here and tell him to come over to greet him." A distinguished guest? The 4 security guards knew Daikura Sakuragi and immediately realized that Tang Xiu's identity was extraordinary. One of them reverently complied and hurriedly ran to the interior. Daikura turned to look at Tang Xiu and smilingly said, "Please head inside, Mr. Tang." Tang Xiu smiled lightly in response and walked to the interior in big strides. This place may be a casino, but the interior decoration was extremely luxurious. Through the magnificent hall, they turned into the wide corridor and went all the way to the end until they came before a door. Daikura then smiled and said, "This is the great hall for the floating yacht casino, Mr. Tang. There's also another hall on the opposite side provided for leisure, recreation, and entertainment. You can expect to find numerous bells over there. In the floating yacht, the only custom is those who have money are kings. Those with money are kings? What a great custom. Worth praising." Tang Xiu exclaimed in praise. "I don't have much else but tons of money, to begin with." "It seems I'm going to be a king today, no? Anyway, isn't that good friend of mine, Nishi Masayoshi, also here?" "He's inside." Daikura Sakuragi smiled. As the door to the hall was pushed open, a huge space appeared before Tang Xiu's eyes. It was at least comparable with a football field, filled with a variety of gambling machines where numerous gamblers were occupying table boards or playing with the gambling machines in front of them. But when Tang Xiu and the rest passed through the door, many of them focused their eyes on them at the same time since Tang Xiu brought too many bodyguards behind him. This powerful big shot seemed to be going to wreck this place instead of gambling. "Mr. Sakuragi." A thin man with a mustache and a few of his men approached in a hurry. His shimmering eyes then glanced at Daikura Sakuragi and finally landed on Tang Xiu, greeting with a smile. "Thank you and welcome for the patronage. I'm sure you're the distinguished guest mentioned by Mr. Sakuragi, yes?" Tang Xiu rolled his eyes and hummed coldly. Don't be a manager here if you're not cultured enough. I can't understand any Japanese, mind you. Please do speak in English to exchange with me. That is if you can speak in it. Why the hell on earth should I come to this place otherwise, huh?" Shiro Takeda's face was frozen and he immediately turned to Daikura Sakuragi. "Manager Takeda, Mr. Tang is from Singapore and just hired 100 bodyguards from my place. He's the most distinguished guest I've ever had," said Daikura hurriedly. "However, he doesn't speak Japanese, so please communicate with him in English." Shiro Takeda let out a dry chuckle twice. Hearing it from Daikura, he was sure this person was definitely a wealthy patron. He'd never got angry towards such a deep-pocket bigwig even though he got slapped many times. Hence, he smilingly said, "Hello, Mr. Tang. I'm Shiro Takeda, the general manager of Floating Yacht. You can call me Manager Takeda." Tang Xiu rolled his eyelids and grunted. "I came here to win my money today, why don't you just go away? By the way, where's that dear friend of mine Nishi Masayoshi, huh? Tell him to come out to see me." Holy cow. An exclamation came from the interior of the casino as a wretched-looking middle-aged man came out. He wasn't tall, but his arms were hugging 2 pretty girls. He pushed the 2 girls to the side as he dashed towards Tang Xiu, opened his arms wide and spoke happily at the same time, "Yo, Tang buddy, I'm not dreaming, am I? How the hell did you come to Japan and in Kyoto, of all places? God. Did God hear my prayer hoping that you'd come to my country? Did he give you a dream to make a trip here or something?" Tang Xiu also opened his arms wide and strode towards the middle-aged man. As both hugged each other, Tang Xiu loudly laughed and then said, "It's been a long while, Nishi. Well, I never thought your silver tongue is still great. Damn, I'm so happy now. That's right, though. I've been dreaming to have some games with you, so I hurriedly made a trip here to find you. This is the code of brotherhood and we both deserve to be called true friends, right? True that. We're true friends." Nishi Masayoshi heavily nodded and said, well, it's a great fortune to have you as my friend. Anyway, let me be the host and guide you around. Although this place isn't much better than those big casinos in Las Vegas, it's enough for us to play around. This man, Nishi Masayoshi, was Kawako Yamamoto's trusted confidant. On the surface, he was playing the role of a total gambler, whereas he was actually an intel operative Kawako had trained. He had been in the US and gambled many times in Las Vegas, so she directly pushed him outside to cooperate with Tang Xiu in the plays. Tang Xiu cheerfully turned around and observed the surroundings. He nodded with satisfaction and said, this is good. Well, great. Nishi, I just arrived in Japan, but your name precedes you, you know that? Though I didn't expect you to be in this casino. Alrighty, find a dealer and some people to get together. You know, this young master brought tons of money, enough for us to play for 3 days and 3 nights straight. Nishi's eyes lit up and he willy said, how much did you bring this time, buddy? Well, let's chat first, though. I've been pretty lucky recently and got tons of money. I don't feel like finding any dealers. I'm not going to have games with you if the money is less than 8 figures, you know. Without trying to conceal anything to those in the surroundings, Tang Xiu pridefully replied, what did you say? 8 digits? This young Master Tang's pocket money is already more than 8 figures. You're definitely looking down on me. No worries about that. I came here to gamble with you. Let alone 8 figures, I can still afford to take out 10 figures. 10 digits. As in the range of $1 billion? Everyone's eyes suddenly lit up, watching Tang Xiu as though looking at a gold mine. Even Daikura Sakuraji, who was the master of the Inada Society, couldn't help but have his heartbeat hiked up a few times faster. Face flushed red with excitement, Nishi Masayoshi excitedly exclaimed loudly, that's great. You got so much money, enough for me to win it. Well, Tang buddy, let's talk about something first. Are we going to follow the old rules, or do you want to go straight for the battle royale? No worries, we got tons of rich people here in Japan, those who like to gamble at high stakes on the card table. I can get lots of them in 2 hours if you want to. Tang Xiu smacked his tongue and immediately said grinningly, well, it's been hard for us to meet like this, so going straight to the games is rather boring. How about setting it to the old rules, then? Fine with me. That's exactly my thought as well, replied Nishi Masayoshi aloud. Daikura Sakuraji strode a few steps towards Tang Xiu and Nishi Masayoshi and then smilingly asked, Mr. Tang, Mr. Masayoshi, may I ask what these old rules are and whether I'm qualified to accompany you? Count me in, too. A bald-headed man with a body full of tattoos and a shimmering gold chain on his neck came approaching with several chips in his hand. Nishi Masayoshi seemed to just have noticed Daikura Sakuraji at this moment and immediately said with a beaming face, well, isn't this Mr. Sakuraji? I'm honored that you can play with us. Bro, Tang, let me introduce you to him. This is... Tang Xiu raised his hand to interrupt him and said, I already know him. I just hired 100 bodyguards from this guy. Damn, you're really great, bro. Nishi Masayoshi gasped in surprise. 100 bodyguards, your convoy is now much bigger than when we were in Las Vegas. Anyhow, then let me introduce you this one then. He's Saburo Koizumi, the vice president of the Chamber of Commerce and also an illustrious figure in the capital. You got my guarantee that be it Mr. Sakuraji or Mr. Koizumi, they are definitely qualified to accompany us to play with 9 digits of money in their pockets. Tang Xiu picked up his brows and immediately said with a grin, well, that's great to hear. I just came to Japan, but this country has made me fallen in love with it immediately. Money is good and great stuff. Come, let's play some games then. We got too much money to burn, and it won't matter much if we gamble to win or lose. Well, you haven't explained how are we going to play, though? Daikura Sakuraji interjected. Noticing that Tang Xiu didn't seem to want to elaborate it, Nishi Masayoshi immediately took the role. Well, the rules of games I play with Mr. Tang are rather simple. Each player must spend $100 to buy chips. Then you can casually choose to play with the gambling machines or spend it on the cards table in the entire hall. Whoever can earn the most money in 2 hours with that $100 chips will have to pay the other a fixed amount of money. Back then, we set the number at $10 million. Tang Xiu waved and said, "Nah, $10 million is like bullshit now. It's too few a number to live in your country. Let's have it at $100 million. This?" Daikura Sakuragi and Saburo Koizumi's expressions changed and they hesitated. They could afford to take out $100 million. It would fine if they won, but it would be a big blow to them if they lost, as it would take them at least several years to earn it back. Do I have to play by the rules, or should I cower and step back? At that moment for a while, both men were hit with a bit of a dilemma. Tang Xiu raised his brows and said with dissatisfaction, "What's up? Do you both think it's too much a number to play, can't afford it and can't play, or what? Bah, it's all fine and dandy with me either way, though. I'm not familiar with you both, to begin with, so I won't jeer at you over it. At most, it will feel very shameful to you and you'll find a quilt to cover yourselves when you get home and won't have face to see anyone later." That was a move to goad someone to act. Both Daikura and Saburo knew that Tang Xiu was prodding them to get into action. At the same time, it also made them ride a tiger and find it hard to get off, so they could only nod with helplessness. They were all famous figures in Kyoto, to begin with. How could they lose their faces in public? Should they just give up directly this time? It was very likely that by tomorrow, the news would have spread out to the whole of Kyoto that they cowered before the gambling even started. All in all, their reputation would take a big blow. Chapter 1159, Tampered Games. The 4 men agreed on the rules without any hassles. The casino staff then acted as a tester, whereas each party sent one person to supervise each side before the 4 men finally separated. The $100 chips were just trivial for them, but these men didn't bother about it, as those who frequented such places were not some green rookies and had their own unique abilities in gambling. Half an hour passed by. Tang Xiu's expression was ugly as he sat in front of a machine. He lost $97 worth of chips in just half an hour and only had $3 worth left in his hand. Each one of the 3 people following him wore strange smiles, as though they would see him lose completely. "Wow. That's amazing." A burst of cheers came from the crowd nearby. Tang Xiu turned around and saw that the cheers came from the crowd surrounding Daikura Sakuragi. The man looked smug and proud and gestured his subordinate to take a big pile of chips into his tray. Lucky dogs hit. Tang Xiu resentfully cursed and shifted back to the machine before him. He directly threw the remaining $3 chips into one of the jackpot positions without hesitation, then hit the start button with his fist. Cling, cling. Many people around him thought that he had given up upon seeing the flashing lights from the screen. But the moment his last $3 were gone, the picture on the screens finally stopped in the Grand Slam position. Won 100 times? Tens of onlookers around Tang Xiu looked incredulous instantly. Never did they expect that this guy in front would actually hit the jackpot, and it was even the 100 times multiplier. That's really a pity. He only has $3 left. Yeah, he bet too little for that one. Even if he does hit the 100 times jackpot, it only earns him $300. He's as good as lost already. I just came over from the other 3. The one with fewest chips is Saburo Koizumi, but he still has 20 grand chips in total. Crap, forget him. Let's not watch him anymore. He's already lost. Go, go, go. Let's leave. Quickly after, only 5 people were left around Tang Xiu. Instead of taking these $300 chips, Tang Xiu threw all the chips that just fell out of the machine into the Grand Slam slot again and then hit the button under the watchful eyes of the 5 people. Impossible. How can he hit the jackpot again? Is this machine broken or something? This is ridiculous. What's going on? Is it possible to hit the fucking jackpot in a row? The 5 people's eyes almost stared with eyes nearly popped out. They were unable to take back their eyes, seeing the chips fall down from the machine. Beautiful. An excited look on his face, Tang Xiu shouted to Kawako aloud, "Hey, what the hell are you staring for? Hurry up and put the chips on the tray, will you? This young master got 30 grand now. Let's go somewhere else and change the machine." Time fleeted by. An hour and a half passed in the blink of an eye. Saburo Koizumi had always won more than he lost, but today he was hit with a series of bad luck. He had been in winning streak for the first few games, but he was then struck with successive losses afterward until he lost all his winning chips, and the original $100 worth of chips. It was suffocating. He was so distressed that he nearly burst into tears. He would have run away already if it weren't for those big men watching him in the surroundings. Certainly, that was $100 million. He may have about $1 billion if he added all his assets into the count, yet he didn't expect to lose $100 million in this big stake games. Eyes blurry and hazy, he looked at Tang Xiu and Daikura Sakuraji who were surrounded by many people in the distance, whereas Nishi Masayoshi was screaming in joy. He clenched his fists tightly. The final half an hour finally came. Tang Xiu won more and lost less and quickly. A pile of more than $100,000 already filled the tray on Kawako's hands. Time's up. A voice from the loudspeaker in the gambling hall resounded. Tang Xiu, Saburo Koizumi, Daikura Sakuraji, and Nishi Masayoshi quickly came to the chips exchange counter. That was cool. I got more than 100 grand with just $100. This young master is definitely the victor today. Tang Xiu smugly said aloud, showing off a silk pants flamboyant attitude. At least, Saburo Koizumi, who stood not far from him, wanted to punch his nose so much due to that. Nishi Masayoshi, on the other hand, hooked his finger to the man behind him and smilingly said, "Well, you just won 100 grand in the whole 2 hours, bro, Tang? That's quite a sum indeed." Having said that, he motioned his subordinate to give the chips in the tray to the staff at the chips exchange counter. The final count was $3.62 million. Tang Xiu's smile was frozen as he smashed the chips in his hand to the floor and rudely spat on the carpet. "Count mine." Daikura Sakuraji handed the tray to the counter staff. After the count, he won a total of $2.964 million in the entire 2 hours. As the general manager of this casino, Shiro Takeda acted as the attester and witness of the games. But he didn't expect the final winner to be Nishi Masayoshi. His eyes swept over at the surrounding, seeing the envy on the onlookers' faces. Then, under their hundreds of watchful eyes, he loudly announced, "The final winner is Nishi Masayoshi. And according to the rules agreed on by the players, everyone else must hand over $100 million to him. Hey, Manager Takeda. Your casino can't possibly help him win, can it?" Tang Xiu loudly questioned inquisitively. "I got amazing gambling skills myself. Even the god of gamblers in Las Vegas says that I'm gonna be more powerful later on. How the hell can I lose here? Even to him, Nishi Masayoshi, huh?" Shiro Takeda's complexion changed and he immediately retorted back angrily. "Please do not question the fairness of my casino, Mr. Tang. All the scenes when the 4 of you were gambling have all been recorded by the monitors in the casino. You can check the surveillance video if you want to question it." "Bleh, checking my ass. I just can't afford to lose to this guy. It's nothing but $100 million. I'll just give it to him." Tang Xiu intentionally talked back with anger, but he was quite happy inwardly. The chief reason why Nishi Masayoshi could win was thanks to Tangen, who had been lurking around him while being invisible, and helping him cheat. She sometimes went so far as to pull some tricks on Daikura Sakuragi and Saburo Koizumi. Meanwhile, it felt quite painful to Daikura since $100 million was way too high a price for him to pay. Yet, there was no way out of this debt, as there were literally thousands of eyes staring at him. He had no choice but to transfer the money to Nishi's account. Saburo Koizumi also transferred the money and quickly left unwillingly with a foul mood. Tang Xiu himself only looked furious at first, but his expression then changed into indifference soon after. He then spoke to Daikura Sakuragi, "Hey, are you still playing? Why did you come here if you don't want to play? Besides, I won $50 million from this Nishi bastard in Las Vegas before, but well, he actually won $100 million from me now. That gives me a foul mood. I gotta get back on him and gamble more." Daikura didn't reply, but the indignant expression in his eyes betrayed him. As for Nishi Masayoshi himself, he smugly spoke with a smile, "Well, you're not the kind who can't afford to lose, bro, Tang. Besides, it's just $100 million. It's like a drop in the bucket for a tycoon like you. Anyhow, I'll accompany you one more time if you still want to have a go. But let's make a deal first. No matter who wins or loses, everything ends with the games, and the winner will have to treat the others and find them some hot chicks." "Fine with me." Tang Xiu raised his chin and replied with a thick competing intent. "So, what would be our next games, then?" asked Nishi Masayoshi. "A card game. Each draws a card, and whoever has the biggest card wins. The bet is still $100 million. How about it?" asked Tang Xiu. "No problem." Nishi Masayoshi curtly agreed with a strange smile. Daikura, standing aside, heard that Tang Xiu and Nishi Masayoshi decided to pick a card game as the next game. He suddenly interjected. "Count me in. I'll accompany you both." Tang Xiu was stunned. Then, he quickly sobered up and patted the man's shoulder. He raised his thumbs up and praised. "You're a great and amazing guy, Mr. Sakuragi. You got balls, I admire that. Regardless of whoever wins or loses, you're a buddy of mine later on, just like this good buddy of mine, Nishi Masayoshi." An ugly smile appeared on Daikura Sakuragi's face. He simply dismissed the notion of becoming Tang Xiu's good buddy. The dealer shuffled the cards and cut it. Shortly after, one card was sent to each player. Daikura himself was a powerful Buddhist cultivator and pulled some tricks when the dealer was dealing the cards. He exchanged the biggest cards to fall into his hands, and yet, he didn't notice that Tang Xiu also performed a technique secretively right after he pulled the trick. "You really can't stop it when luck comes. I got an ace of hearts." Nishi Masayoshi was the first to lift the card and suddenly burst into laughter after seeing the first card he got. Tang Xiu also picked up his, and it was 10 of spades. At this time, Daikura Sakuragi looked smug and satisfied. He opened the card without even seeing it and smilingly said, "Sorry, mine is the biggest king of spades. You both lost." The onlookers gathered around wore strange expressions as their eyes fell on the card, whereas the rest of the gamblers in the distance looked at the projection on the big screen. The card in front everyone was the King of Hearts. What's going on? Keenly realizing something strange on the faces of everyone else in the surroundings, Daikura Sakuragi looked down to see his card, only to stare in disbelief instantly and exclaim, "Impossible, my card was definitely the King of Spades. How can it become? God damn it." Tang Xiu interrupted Daikura's roar with a sullen face. As for Nishi Masayoshi, he was as if not seeing Daikura Sakuragi's shocked expression as well as Tang Xiu's indignance. With a beaming smile full of excitement, he said aloud, "You bet, so you gotta be prepared to lose. No big deal. You both lost, so transfer the money quickly." Chapter 1160, Trap. A cautious person may be able to sense that something was not right even though a trap was gradually set up and strengthened by each step. However, Tang Xiu's convincing act as Silk Pants, who showcased his never on short of money side, had fully enticed Daikura Sakuragi to eventually fall into a trap and lose $200 million for nothing. Such a loss was definitely a tremendous blow for the man. Yet, he must keep his promise as he was under the watchful of thousands of onlookers, else his reputation would go down the drain and become a notorious shameful man in the eyes of many people. However, seeing how smug, excited, and proud Nishi Masayoshi was at this time, the urge to kill him inevitably erupted inside him. He secretly made up his mind to act by himself and separate this guy's head from his body when the commotion passed by. After some time, he would snatch back all his losses today and completely rob him of everything. There are things I still need to tend to, Mr. Tang. Farewell. Daikura looked pale and extremely indignant looking and coldly dropped the statement before turning around and leaving. Tang Xiu didn't pay any heed to him and just transferred the stake money to Nishi Masayoshi's account, saying with an upset face, "All right, spare me all the bullshit and stop being a jerk. This young master is not in the mood to play with women today. Don't bother. I'll find myself a place to rest and I'll take you on some other games after resting." "Well, no worries about that, buddy." Nishi Masayoshi hurriedly replied, "Let's leave together if you want to play no more. Besides, you haven't found a good place to stay in Japan, right? Don't go to a hotel, my villa in Kyoto is available for you. Or do you want me to find a bunch of bells and join me to have a look at them?" Bah, what a show-off. Tang Xiu glared at him snappily. He directly stretched his hand out and said, "Just give me the address and the key. You can go wherever, but don't bother me today. Wait until tomorrow to show me the chicks." Nishi Masayoshi wasn't angry. He swiftly took out a door card and gave it to Tang Xiu. "The address is on it, you can go straight there." "That's right, do you want me to give you $100 for the cab? I'll break your nose if you dare spit out such shitty fart again." Tang Xiu angrily replied. With that said, he quickly left the floating yacht along with Kawako and the rest. After sitting in the car, his mobile phone rang and he quickly asked, "Did he go back?" "Yes." "Keep monitoring him." "Understood." As he hung up, a smile appeared after he changed his appearance. He just won $300 million so easily and dug a pit for Daikura Sakuragi. The operation was so smooth that it was beyond his expectation. The money has just been transferred to the usual account at the Swiss bank, Sect Master. Additionally, we've also fully arranged the getaway route for Nishi Masayoshi. Nobody will notice his departure from Japan tonight, and it's impossible for Daikura Sakuragi to find Nishi's trace anymore given his abilities. Kawako reported to Tang Xiu respectfully after having similarly answered a call. "I see." Tang Xiu nodded with a light smile and then asked, "What about the next operation? Have you prepped it already?" "It's all been prepped." Kawako nodded. "Also, Yuji is guessing that Ozawa Manzo should also be someone from the Joyous Palace. I think we can carry out the next plan more smoothly." At Donjamin, Shinjuku. A very famous department store in Kyoto was located here. A building with tens of floors filled with a superb collection of dazzling merchandise of great value. At this time, a well-known businessman in Kyoto, Ozawa Manzo, was seen walking while hugging the waist of a seductive slender woman. They were now on the 16th floor that was mainly for the gold and silver jewelry stores. "Honey, this 3-carat diamond is really beautiful. Take a look at its engraving style and luster. I love it so much. I even heard that celebrity, Ryoko Kitagawa, wore this type of diamond ring when she married director Kawada." The gorgeous woman's eye lit up as she fondled the diamond ring in her hand. Her sweet voice was as though able to wake up a dead man from his grave. Ozawa Manzo raised his brows without much interest and said, "Buy it if you like it. If Ryoko Kitagawa's man can afford it, so can I."
Ah.
I think that platinum necklace in the next display cabinet is great. I'll buy it for you, too. Thanks, honey. The glamorous woman kissed him, the ripples in her fox-like eyes as the water. Hold up. Kawako Yamamoto, who had already changed her appearance, strode with her high heels and a long red dress. She gently stroked the hair on her forehead and spoke without being salty, I love this diamond ring, too. Why don't you give it to me? The seductive woman's expression changed and she angrily asked, Who are you? Don't you know the meaning of I first come first served? Kawako rolled her eyes at her and shouted to Tang Xiu behind her, who just entered the store, Dear, do you see this diamond ring? It's beautiful and I've long been loving it ever since I saw it. Can you buy it for me? Tang Xiu's face went black and he indignantly said, Buy, and buy. You only know to keep buying stuff, don't you? Don't you already know I've just lost tons of money? Having reproached her, he directly shot Ozawa Manzo and the pretty woman a look and threateningly said, Scram. My woman wants this ring. Nobody can snatch it from her, else I'll kill you. A cold light flashed in Ozawa's eyes. He paced a step forward towards Tang Xiu and sneered. And who the hell are you, mister? You actually dare to snatch things from Ozawa Manzo? Are you tired of living or what? Tang Xiu stared daggers at him and thundered. What fucking shit is Ozawa Manzo, huh? I'm snatching your things? Do you want me to smack you up or what? Ozawa was enraged. He was always the one bullying others, not the other way around. He pushed the pretty woman holding him and moved to give Tang Xiu a lesson. Just as he paced 2 steps forward, however, he slightly knitted his brows upon seeing tens of sturdy men rushing in through the store entrance. This brat is not some average layman. Being a cautious man, Ozawa retracted back his gaze and coldly asked, Who are you? Trying to get in the way and coming here with so many men? Are you doing it on purpose to give me a lesson, huh? Tang Xiu rolled his eyes at him and mocked. Who the shit do you think you're? Me, making trouble on purpose? I told you to scram already, else I'll beat you up so hard that even your mom won't recognize you. Bastard. Ozawa rushed towards Tang Xiu and appeared in front of him in just the blink of an eye. His fist moved extremely fast and directly hit Tang Xiu's chest. The punch could have severely injured Tang Xiu if he was an average person. Unfortunately, Tang Xiu wasn't any average person and he didn't feel any pain in the slightest. Yet, Tang Xiu still followed his role and acted accordingly. He staggered 4 steps backward and even forced himself to cough up some blood after stumbling on the floor. Kawako intentionally screamed out in panic, Honey, are you okay? Hey, what the hell are you staring for? That guy hit the person you must protect. Are you still bodyguards or what? Take him on. Tens of bodyguards immediately stormed over towards Ozawa Manzo. They were all martial artists and, though not very strong, each of them was enough to deal with more than 10 average people. Bam, bam, bam. A wave of punches hitting human flesh was heard. Yet, instead of them beating up Ozawa, it was the latter who sent them flying in just a few seconds. Sitting straight with Kawako's support, Tang Xiu observed Ozawa's attacking method. He could tell at a glance that the man was definitely a cultivator with a rather remarkable strength as well. The man didn't even use all his strength when punching the bodyguards a moment ago. Hey, all of you outside? Are you dead or something? Get your ass here and kill this bastard. Tang Xiu raised his arm and screamed out with trembling fingers. At that instant, a large swarm of bodyguards flushed in from the outside and more than 80 people jam-packed inside, filling nearly half of the store's space. As these bodyguards saw Tang Xiu's wretched appearance and their comrades' miserable state, they immediately swarmed over, with most of them pulling out weapons. Damn. It's a trap. Upon seeing the scene before him, Ozawa instantly realized that this wasn't just a simple conflict but a trap against him. The purpose was not to teach him, but rather to kill him. If so, then I must kill some of them as a warning for the rest. A chilling light filled his eyes as he instantly pulled out a sharp dagger from his waist. The dagger moved about up and down, and 2 bodyguards at the forefront had their throats slashed and hearts stabbed. Murder, he's killing people. Acting like a weak woman, Kawako instantly screamed out when she saw that 2 bodyguards were killed. After her voice faded away, however, another strong man was hit and flew backward, whereas the staffers in the jewelry shop panicked and ran away, one of whom pressed the alarm button and contacted the police. The martial artists trained by the Inada Society were a bunch of ruthless people. They may be bodyguards now, but murder and arson were normal things they had done in the past. Now that their companions were killed, it aroused their own savageness, many of whom took their pistols and trained its dark muzzles at Ozawa Manzo. Puff, puff, puff. A figure flickered and moved lightning fast in the midst of these bodyguards. Those who had pulled their pistols had their wrists slashed. But Ozawa didn't resort to killings this time and just kept delivering heavy blows and severely injured these bodyguards. It took only half a minute for him to send almost 50 bodyguards flying with severe injuries. Supported by Kawako, Tang Xiu crawled up from the floor while covering his chest. He intentionally wore a frightened look upon seeing Ozawa's great power display. He called out loudly, "Damn Japan and that bastard Daikura Sakuraji. Didn't he vow his Inada Society's bodyguards were a bunch of experts? Yet, they are nothing but trash. Someone help, murder." While attacking the bodyguards in Black Suite, a chilling light overflowed in Ozawa's eyes. He could clearly hear Tang Xiu's exclamation and the names of the Inada Society and Daikura Sakuraji. "You wanna get your asses from here, huh?" He noticed that Tang Xiu and Kawako Yamamoto had already rushed out of the store. He immediately kicked several black-suited bodyguards and pursued them lightning fast.